today's interview with an expert call, and we've got my good friends from Intaker. Joe and I have been communicating for a long time since he was kind enough to step in when other folks stepped aside during the COVID world. It opened up an opportunity for us to have a conversation with another firm to provide the services for chat. And who would have known that we would have found a company that outperforms even what we used to be doing? I don't know if you remember this, but way back when, and if you've ever listened to my toolkit, you'll, in my lead conversion section, in my internet marketing section, I talk an awful lot about how having chat on your website is an absolute must. And you'll have heard me talk about how the fact that when I added chat to my website, I actually can increase conversions in the law firm that I was building by some 35 to 40% without chat on the website. And now Intaker, because of their empathetic, automatic way of communicating with the prospect, has taken that to a whole new level. And you're seeing even better conversions than before. And better yet, they have a better pricing model, which is kind of cool. It's one that I didn't expect, I didn't see coming. And so I highly implore you, if you've never checked out Intaker, this is something you absolutely should do. You should have chat on every one of your landing pages, on every one of your websites. We'll talk more about that in a little bit, but we're going to be breaking down this idea of how to increase our conversions on our web traffic. But we're going to be talking about this conversation of empathetic communication and how to automate that to a certain extent, and how to make that come through and bring your personality to your prospects. So Joe, are you with me?
I'm here, Rich. Yes.
Cool. Can you do me a favor? Tell everybody a little bit about yourself, where you're from, a little bit about Intaker, or anything else you want them to know about you that maybe nobody else knows. I don't know. Reveal some secrets today.
I'll give you one or two secrets. And first of all, thank you so much, Rich, for finding us, for bringing me on to be, one of the vendors and sponsors of the Partners Club family, because it's a one-of-a-kind community. The community is everything. I'm a big people person. And so to come into a room every 3 months and see the people who care about each other, support each other in a real, sincere way, you don't find that in a lot of places. And so the wow factor is still with me. It's been a year. August was my first in-person one last year in San Diego. I'll be there again. I cannot wait. I might even have one or two of my colleagues with me, because I'm in Los Angeles, for everyone who doesn't know. Company Intaker, we started in end of 2018 as an idea, and then went to production working with lawyers in March of 2019. And so since then, it's been a little over 3 years. It has been a roller coaster ride. I joined after year one in March of 2020. So when I came on board, I had 2 weeks of training in the office, same office where we are. We just came back. And then, after COVID, well, I didn't see my boss for another 9 months, right? And so moving into that, world, it's interesting. I'll tell you a little bit about Intaker. We're website chat, empathy, and automation are the core of what we do. And as I go through, you'll hear a little bit more about the product, and not just our product, but the whole class of new technologies that's come online. Some of that I'm really excited to share with you. But what happened, it was interesting. At the beginning of COVID, we were calling firms, trying to, book appointments, do business, and do what we do. And it was really hard because people were taking time off from their business, a lot of uncertainty. And then as, 1 month kind of moved to the next, we saw that, okay, people are still coming to work. A lot of times they're working from home now, but business has to go on. But there's now a gap where people used to come into the office for a consultation, meet the attorney, meet the staff, the intake team, whoever. And that was lost. There was a very critical piece of the human connection when someone comes to, whether you're in bankruptcy or family law or criminal or anything, or personal injury, there's now a gap, there's a wall, because people are doing consultations over the phone, they're doing them over Zoom, and there's something that's missing. And especially when people find out about, this law firm, are they going to choose to work with them? Are they going to move on? Are they going to reach out? Are they hearing, the message? Is what the attorney is saying kind of resonating with who they are? We found there was an opportunity to increase empathy and really just add that human element back to the connection by using video. So Intaker Video came out of COVID. Before that, we were just chat. that led us to really go hard down this empathy route. And we're doing something that no one else is really taking on as a like core problem. And we hope that we can help not only every single person in Partners Club, but many, many hundreds and thousands of attorneys across the country. So that's a little bit about us, our mission. But yeah, like you said, Rich, chat is where we started. That's the core of what we do. But how do we take chat and transform it to a channel that can really compete with the phones in terms of delivering empathy, creating that personal connection, adding that personal touch. We're never going to replace a real human, but we can get pretty close. So we're going to talk about it.
By the way, I love that you love us so much that you're holding your microphone in the shape of a heart. I think that's great, that little symbol there. That's wonderful.
A little heart mic for you.
Okay. Sorry, Mike humor. All right. So I want to plus one on what you said, actually. Yeah, COVID seems to be, well, it's certainly not behind us. It's starting to rear its head, right? We've heard reports, and we were hearing of people getting sick again. But that being said, virtual is not going away. The hybrid workforce, the hybrid consultation process, that whole thing is not going away. And so figuring it out, and so to your point, we cannot replace a human. Yeah, we can get close, but we're not going to replace a human. And what this has meant is this whole process has become harder. And we have to be better at it, right? We as a company have to be better at getting our message across. And there's just fragmentation everywhere. And it's really hard to come across as empathetic. And so your ability to use video and automation to do that has been great. And I'm excited to hear the rest of your tech. So why don't you go ahead and share your deck and we can get into it.
Awesome. Thank you, Rich.
Yep.
And so I'm going to share my screen. I'll ask someone, either Rich or anyone in the audience, can tell me if they see it.
Yep.
All right.
Everybody else go. You know what? Let's get started the right way. Why don't we get started the right way, everybody? Remember, whether you're as Joe said, whether you're a bankruptcy attorney or you're a criminal attorney, a family law attorney, estate planning attorney, tax resolution, immigration, or PI, workers' comp, Social Security, I think that I covered them all, right? Are you business to business transactional, whatever it is that you are, whatever type of law firm that you happen to have, you have to come at this and understand that everything we're going to talk about is going to be relevant to you. And the reason for that is because my business is no different than your business. And if you're all in an audience with me, I'd have you raise your right hand and share that with me right now so I could hear you say it. But I want you to just take a second and to yourself, say that to yourself. My business isn't different than your business. And the reason why I want you to do that is because I want you to come at this with how can we come at this and take one thing and apply this to our practice. I want you to have this attitude of, how can I just take one thing and apply it? How can I make this relevant to what it is that I do? And so if you're with me and you're willing to do that with me today, just go ahead and type in the chat, because we're going to use the chat. Go ahead and say, heck yeah, I'm in. Yep, ready to go, whatever. Just go ahead and put it in the chat for me so I know you're live, I know you're with me, and we're moving in the right direction. Give me some love here. Go ahead, put it in the chat. Thank you. Okay, so with that being said, if you have a question, just type question into the chat, and Joe and I will get to it at some point throughout the presentation. The question's not limited to what Joe is talking about. You can ask any question about anything you want. This is an open question opportunity, so there are no rules about this. And thank you, Joe, for reiterating my business is not different than yours. Appreciate that. So as you're going through this, if you have questions, go ahead and ask them now. Joe, back to you.
All right, thank you, Rich. And one quick note is I recognize some faces in the audience, actually, a lot of you guys. So good to see you. Thank you for coming. And, some of the things I'm going to talk about, you might say, hey, I've already done this. I'm already ahead of the game. And number one, congratulations. You are ahead of the game, right? Number two, I'm going to challenge you to take those things that I say and think, how can we go deeper, right? Because empathy, when we think about it, it's very similar to what Mike was saying at the last Partners Club, is being yourself, right? Being yourself, not being afraid to be different, and showing people your personality. That is what allows them to relate to you, right? And so even if you've done all this stuff before, even if you've used empathy in making a video as part of your chat to really capture people's attention, I'm going to, and we can even do a quick exercise depending on time at the end of this, how to go even deeper into your own story to find a way to communicate empathy to everyone on maybe a brand new level, right? So that is my goal, that is my challenge. But topic, increase conversions and streamline your intake with empathy-driven automation. Now, chat is what we're going to mostly focus on, but we're going to talk about some of the other ways of automation and using empathy in your messaging for your law firm to communicate more like a human, a little bit less like an autoresponder, a little bit less like a standard bot, a little more like a person having a conversation, right? And so it starts with chat, but it goes to some of these other tools. And like Rich said, you guys can, even if you have a question not totally related to what I'm talking about, shoot it out. We'll get to it, okay? Empathy automated. This is our new mantra at Intaker. It encapsulates everything that we are about, because empathy, it really cannot come from us in many ways. If you are the attorney and you are using our product, the only way it really works is if you stand up, you show your face, you get on camera, and you deliver a short message, letting people know that it's okay, they're at the right place, and whatever problem they have, if it matches what you do, you can help them, okay? The automation part becomes, Rich, you talk so much about this, and I'm very aligned with it. I don't think we need to reiterate all of those things that currently get caught up with a human or a staff member or you. My God, if there are things that you are doing that really are adding value, adding character to the business, creating that sense of culture, not just for your team, but for when people come to your website and first find you and reach out. If there's a way that we can closely replicate that without needing to take more time away from you, right? And allow people to kind of get that personal touch from you as the managing attorney, as the managing partner. We want to automate that as much as possible. I'll talk more about this, but everything that we do kind of comes back to this. All right, so really quick, you might notice that I'm going a little bit fast at times. Feel free to ask me, like say, wait, I didn't get that, or slow down, or could you repeat, if there's something that you want to hear a little bit more about. But so forgive me in advance if I go a little bit quick. All right, so what are we going to learn today? We're going to learn why empathy works. And I'm talking about on a psychological level from the perspective of someone visiting your website, right? Remember, this all goes back to increasing conversions. So when someone visits your website, they might have 2-second time lapse before they make a subconscious decision whether they're going to move forward and engage or whether they're going to back off, right? So when we talk about why empathy works, I'll be talking about the psychology of the very first interaction, the first impression, seeing a smile, seeing a face, and having a good, happy user experience is a big part of taking that and translating a good feeling into an action, into converting and becoming a lead, okay? How automating empathy is going to streamline intake. This is something for a long time people thought it could not be done because empathy is from human to human, and it's not something that can scale with technology. I think by now we all see that that is an outdated belief, and that now the question is, how can we make technology work for us to take empathy and add it more into these interactions, which maybe before they were cold, they were robotic, they didn't feel personal. How can we make every one of those feel like, hey, this attorney or this law firm, they're really speaking to me, okay? How to choose the right chat automation. And so again, Intaker, this is the core of what we do. We're not the only game in town, right? And so you might have seen, or maybe are even using other tools, and it is great. I'm personally really happy that there is competition, and I will give you some of the things to look for when you're making the decision which tool is right for me, because they're not all, there's some important things to look out for. They're not all the same. And this is really important, right? A winning new client experience. Rich, I'm not as on the very inner circle of the Partners Club where I know every detail, but I know the PCLC, it starts with creating a good impression and taking that client who comes to you and just treating them to be like someone who's really special,
Yeah,
right?
Joe, I
Giving
mean,
them an
we
outstanding
call it,
experience.
that micromanaging the client experience, right? So when you think about micromanaging client experience, oftentimes people think it starts when they walk in the office and they have a drink menu. And while that's certainly part of it and it's impressive, as I mentioned earlier, this whole world has become more complicated than we once had it before. So, if you remember way back when, just 2 years ago, when 90% of the people came into the office for consults, and the micromanaging could start then, or maybe with the email or text message that we gave them directions to the office. I was always a proponent of making sure that we had micromanaging the client experience start at the very point of the initial marketing, maybe the website they came to or a landing page they came to. And that's why I liked chat to be there. And the reason wasn't because I was smart enough to know that eventually we would have, 70% virtual consults and 20% live person consults because COVID was coming. I wasn't. It was because I understood the importance of making it a congruent relationship. But way back when, a couple years ago, all we had was text chat. We didn't have this way to create empathy and bring the personality through and, to your point, get different. So I fully am 100% all in on the fact that your software and this message around creating empathy allows micromanaging the client experience to start at the very first moment they interact with your office.
Yes. I will remember that, might even steal it. Micromanaging the new client experience. I'll give you credit, Rich. Always do. Okay, so let's move on. So why does empathy work? I gave a nugget of this before. And if I'm talking about things and you say, hey, I know all this already, then again, congrats, you're ahead of the game. We're going to get to some things that are new for everyone, I promise. But if you imagine that you are someone who's looking for an attorney, chances are it's not your best day, right? And having an ability to find a way to connect with someone when they're down, let them know, hey, this is okay. I know this is scary, but this is what we do all the time. Our mission is to help people in your situation get through this, right? And so it goes a long way when you can have someone, maybe not those words, but communicate that sense of certainty, that sense of authority, compassion, trust, right? And don't leave it up to your digital marketing team to do all this for you. They could get very far, but it is you as the personality who leads the business that needs to be giving this message on the front lines, right? So why does empathy work? I'm going to tell you, it should be you as the person managing the law firm, giving this empathy to the new client or future client when they come to you. But when you give the message, right, it's not about you, it's about them. It's about what they need, whatever emotions they're going through, right? And being able to, yes, be personal, be relatable, be friendly, but really let them know that, if you're dealing with, whether that's a divorce or an issue with the future of your child, right? And you're looking for the right experienced legal team who has helped other families through this, then you're at the right place. We'd be honored to help you too. And, the message that you can give to people should speak to their need, right? And Rich, I know you talk about this, and I've been I've been wowed. I think wowed is the right word, by the people in Partners Club who have kind of stepped up to do this. I see a few faces in the audience that you're actually going to get a little shout out on here in a little bit, because there's some great videos to intro both themselves, the firm, and welcome people in the door just from existing Partners Club members. Okay,
yeah, but Joe, so thank you for that. Thank you for saying that. But the reason why Partners Club works as well as it does is because, one, it's a community, and so it passes like wildfire. One person sees what the other person is doing, but also because the community includes folks like you, sponsors who help them elevate their game, right? And so the reason why we're doing this now is in part to provide new information to the people who haven't heard it before. It's in part to nudge those people who have heard it before but haven't done anything with it. And it's in part to reinforce with the people who are actually taking action how to consistently improve and up their game. And so the reason why this whole thing works is because we never take it for granted that everybody just knows what to do and that everybody's already got it. And you know, your willingness to come on here and do this is what really helps push this entire thing forward. And for those who are new and they don't know what we're talking about and they've not experienced it, it's a strange world to them, but they're still getting value from the information you're giving. So keep on rocking on, man. You're doing it.
All right, thank you, Rich. I mentioned this before, you know, the connection, the trust that I didn't say this in the slide, but it helps you stand out, right? Because let me give you an example. If you go to any attorney's website and you see their message about how we can help you with bankruptcy and, you know, achieve financial freedom, you know, they all start to sound the same at some point. But if you can create a pattern interrupt, and if you can get Charles Laputka to just come on and give just the most bang up personal welcome greeting and welcome people in, like, I don't know, there's no one else who does it like you, Charles. I love it. So I had to throw you on here. But this creates a pattern interrupt, and exactly what the ITOD method, which Mike was talking about, you know, D is the most different, create a difference. It's what people pay attention to the most. It is something you do it once, you do it well, and it is evergreen, it lives, and it is that perfect welcome message for everyone, okay? So Charles is also, if you go to his website, you're not actually gonna see this because he is using some other really cool, neat, nifty intaker tools to really make sure he's speaking to the right people, right? The people in his state. And so if you're outside Pennsylvania, you will not actually get to see Charles' beautiful welcome video. It's just for me. I'm kidding, but talk to Charles if you want more you know, insight on his process with it. Okay, so I wanted to talk for a minute because we mentioned this before, and you might be coming here and saying, hey, you know, I know empathy is important. I listen to the calls that my team makes when they're doing the phones, and I know that I need to listen for that. And that if someone isn't employing empathy, then they're leaving money on the table and potentially giving us like a, you know, not the best reputation if we don't really put the care and concern into every interaction with the client. And I'd say you are completely right. Empathy is natural over the phone. It is the standard. I think we're all used to that, right? If someone is kind of like rude to you, customer service, it stands out, right? In a negative way. But the problem is, as much as this is true, people are not calling firms like they used to, right? And so fewer people are calling law firms. They have an aversion to even speaking on the phone. This is primarily true with the, you know, the younger generations, but years are going by and they're becoming, you know, people like who have both businesses and families, and they need help too, right? The issue is that as less people move, or as people move away from phones as kind of that number one channel that they're comfortable communicating in, they're going to what? They're going to things like website chat, they're going to forums, but these are a little cold. They're a little bit robotic, and they are all more or less the same. That is, no matter what website you're on, sure, some mousetraps are better than others, right? And I will tell you that, you know, I think Integra is a great mousetrap for capturing leads, but they don't inject the personality, right? And so when it comes to whether that's chat or forums or any of these tools, there was a perception for a long time that empathy, it can only happen from one person to another. And I understand that in many ways that's true, right? For like a human connection, but automating empathy is something that can be done. It can scale with technology, and it's not just Integra. There is an entire class of new tools out there that really do this job well, of automating empathy and streamlining the intake process. I'll talk about streamlining the intake process in a minute. I know this is something I haven't mentioned too much, but it goes beyond that, you know, immediate first 2-second yes or no, go or no go interaction, where now maybe, you know, once they've said, sure, let me click, let me hear this, or let me see what this is all about, right? There's ways that we can automate the next few steps to streamline the entire intake process. And I believe I'm using the phrase correctly, it's shortening the perfect client lifecycle, because the time between when they first find out about you and then reach out or schedule an appointment or sit for the consultation, you want the gaps to be very small, right? And the best way to do that is to use automation in every part of your intake process. If anyone wants to challenge me on that, I'm sure there's caveats on that. But Charles, isn't automating empathy like an oxymoron? I think you are testament to the opposite, my friend. And I understand in the case where you're having a conversation with someone. Oh, by the way, did you guys all right, I'm sorry. I think my computer might be a little bit slow. Now you can see Catherine. Anyway, Charles, is automating empathy an oxymoron? I would say it is not. And the reason is, if you've ever watched a movie or listen to a speaker who's been able to kind of move you, right? And maybe you were in the room with them, but chances are, if there was a tape, if it was a cassette, whatever it was, you might have been moved. They might have had an emotional response to them without them being in the room. So definitely we can automate empathy. The question is, can we design it into the experience, right? Into an experience that creates either a roadmap or a funnel or a step-by-step process to get people to some desired action? And the answer is yes. And that's what we've, tried really hard to do.
Yeah, I would plus one on that. I would say that Charles is right. I mean, he automating empathy sounds like an oxymoron. But if you've ever been, as you said, Joe, in a presentation of any kind, whether it's at church or it's, in a presentation of a speaker, and for whatever reason, what you're going through is exactly what they're talking about, it feels like you're talking directly to you and about your situation, and that they fully understand it because they've lived it themselves. By definition, that's empathy. And that's what we're trying to accomplish. We want them to hear that video and feel like, you've been sleeping under their bed at night because you know their story, right? And that's how this comes across. And I think it's a combination of technology, good copywriting, and excellent delivery. And excellent delivery means being you. You don't have to be professional. You don't have to be a professional actor or actress. You just have to be you. So I think when you combine all those three things together, you end up with something that feels very empathetic.
Yes, I back you up, Rich. Thank you. All right, but keep the challenges coming. I actually like it. Poke holes, guys. It makes me work harder. Okay, but really the bottom line, like why? Yes, I understand that it creates more of a connection, and that it's good for people to feel good. But what does this mean to you in a business sense? It means more conversions, more leads, more opportunities to serve people in a way that only you can, right? And, add value, the whole thing. But we'll just dumb it down right now to increases your lead conversion. And here's the thing. You all have websites. I know it. I see them. And they're all performing, some of them are performing great. Some of them are ramping up. And all of them have room for improvement. It's simple. So whether you're just starting out or you have kind of, mature, developed online presence, I heard Tom Rich say this 3 months ago, that the fastest way to increase profitability in any system is to reduce the slack, to increase efficiency, cut slack, and trim costs. Now, trim costs, when I think of what we're talking about with lead conversion, is, let's say you're getting the same amount of website visitors, call it 1,000 people a month, just to make it even, right? And you might be used to getting, many phone calls from that. But then, some chats as well. I know for many people, chats are still in, a distant second place compared to phone calls. That's going to change over time as well. I promise. Just take my word for it. But when you're used to getting whatever it is, 10 or 12 or 15 chats a month out of that 1,000. And now just by changing one tool, that could now be, instead of 10, it could be 13. Instead of 15, it could be, 18, 19, 20, whatever it is. We might not be talking about, earth-shattering changes here, but there's two things that happen. Number one, you're going to have more opportunities come through, right? More leads that you can fill your pipeline and use the rest of your tools, the rest of your PCLC system to work those leads, turn them into clients, The other benefit is that these people are already pre-sold to a certain degree, right? Because having a warm intro video when they first come in to welcome them, hey, this is nice, this is different. Sure, let me click a button. Let me add my information. On the outside, and you'll see this in a second, we can automate more steps of this journey, again, using video at the end of the process. So just for now, what I'll talk about, it increases your lead conversion. On the back end, it can increase your set rate, it can increase your show rate, and increase your hire rate just by using a few essentially costless tweaks to your existing system. So I'll talk a little bit more about that. I'm also looking at the clock, and I'm going to try my best to keep it within time here. Okay, so why is it that when people visit your website, they may become a lead, they may not become a lead, they may reach out, they might wait till later. There's a way that we can cut down on the time it takes for someone to make a decision, and that is to show them your personality, because you are someone who works with people. If you're on this call, you got to be a people person. If you're working in like the service-based industry, if you're serving clients day in, day out, I know that you have care and concern and compassion in your heart for people. If you didn't, you just would not be in this business, right? That means there is something in you that wants to connect, that wants to reach out, that wants to serve the people nearby who you're able to help, right? You all have that. Congratulations. It's innate, it's given to you by your creator, if you believe in that. And it is one thing that you can do. You don't have to, but you can use that to leverage yourself, your own identity, your own mission, and leverage your personality to get more people to say yes, right? It's super simple. And I helped Karina actually do this short video at the last meeting just a few weeks ago. And I've yet to check in with her to see, how the actual, change and is she getting more leads and all that stuff. But I know that when people visit her website, because I did, they get a one-of-a-kind experience, an introduction directly from Karina, welcoming them in, and it makes a big difference to the bottom line. Okay, so I have a few more things to say. What else can empathy-driven automation do with chat? I'll talk about that. I'll see. I guess there's no other questions. Rich, is there anything before I move to the next part that you wanted to add in here?
Just that, before there was Intaker, whenever we trained our members to build a landing page or a website, one of the things that we always talked about, well, there were two things we talked about. One was the most valuable real estate on your website is something called above the fold. Above the fold, ironically enough, is an old newspaper term. And the reason why it's an old newspaper term is because when they used to deliver newspapers and they were folded in half, the side that was on the newspaper stand was what was shown, and people could read it as it was going by. They read the headline. And so all the most valuable information always went above the fold. If you were below the fold, your information was a little bit less valuable because it wasn't seen unless somebody actually picked the newspaper up and purchased it. In website marketing on the internet, if you have some number like less than 5 seconds to capture somebody's attention when they first arrive at your site, and having your message be properly positioned above the fold, both in writing as well as in video, is vital. And the fact that this video, your video, actually makes it appear as if they're coming to life, and it's there, it's moving without the sound, and you can actually do things to like get their attention or whatever. There just gets that above the fold attention that we need. So we used to tell people all the time, our teaching was, make sure you had a social handshake above the fold. That was the message. And so how do you have a social handshake video above the fold? Well, you make a video that says something about a headline. Are you struggling with debt, credit cards? Are you struggling? Did your spouse just, file a divorce against you? Are you looking to get more information about divorce, custody, estate planning, whatever the headline is? A headline that doesn't bury the lead and then gets into, hi, my name is attorney so-and-so, and here's we can do for you. Love for you to get some more information while you're here. But by all means, if you need help, call us right now or grab a free copy of our book. That's this social handshake. It's a warm, welcoming thing that we always train them to do. Well, now that you've done it in chat, first of all, the way the chat floats, it's always above the fold. And secondly, you've now automatically integrated a social handshake into their website. And so, and it has a clear call to action and takes them down this automation through bot communication. So, you know, it just checks off so many boxes of what we already used to want them to do many a moon ago, long before Intaker ever existed. And I mean, you know, we're talking 10, 12 years ago, we were teaching this, because this concept has existed for as long as there has been newspapers. It just has now transferred over to this media, which is now internet marketing. So this isn't a commercial just for Intaker. This is a commercial for, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Intaker just made it better and easier to do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
And you're right. I mentioned before, we're not the only game in town. I was actually, I was surprised and a little bit happy to see that there's a variety of video chats that people are using in Partners Club. I'll talk a little bit about those as well. But yeah, it's not all about us. I'm just really passionate. And, you know, Rich was one of the first people to give us a shot. And so because of that, I appreciate that, Rich. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to move to the next part, right? Because we talked the importance of empathy, automation, but there's more that can be done here. And imagine that you have someone that is going through the process, right? They've seen the video, they've clicked a button. It might be like, you know, for Karina, it could say bankruptcy issues, right? So what happens next? Or if it's a family law case, you know, what happens after they decide to engage? Well, obviously we want to capture the lead, right? All the chats do that. That's not where we can add more magic. We can add more magic in a few of these other places, such as being able to get the most important information to qualify these prospects up front and doing that automatically. And so when it comes to family law, knowing, you know, what kind of assets or shared interests are in the in the marriage, knowing like the conflict check is huge, because that might be an immediate disqualifier, right? Before you invest time or your staff's time engaging these leads, there's certain need to know bits of information. If they filed for bankruptcy 2 years ago and they're reaching out to you because they messed their life up again, I don't know, you want to know that before you spend 20 minutes on the phone with them. And so qualifying, we have an opportunity when they reach out to get information that otherwise you might have to wait till you're in the consultation room or till there's someone taking time out of their day to call this person back, only to find out that they're not a good fit. Do as much of this legwork up front, use automation to do it. You're gonna make your life easier. These seem like small incremental things right now, but as you add and compound over days, months, years, it's going to lead to another level of efficiency, and your staff is definitely gonna love you for making their life easier. Really, why do we want to do this? We want to filter out the noise. Other ways to think about that is if they're an existing client, making sure that there is a different experience for them than for a new lead, so that your staff is not necessarily getting alerted about, you know, hey, so-and-so wants an update on their case. Maybe they don't need to get up at 11 o'clock and respond to that. But if it is a new lead, depending on your practice area, this might be you getting up late to respond. Although I know Rich would probably caution you against being a slave to your own system like that. So I'll skip that part. The other part is going to be automating the next steps in the buying journey. And so that's me before I change my whole look. But when it comes to a consultation, if you have a consultation-driven business, right, what better time to put this in front of them and say, hey, you've come this far, do you want to schedule a consultation? This is the fastest way to get you the help you need starting right now. If you do this later, sure, you're going to have people who maybe you'll call them, get them over the phone, but why do that when you could, at the height of their interest, they watched one video, they got to know you, they answered a few questions, you got to know them. And now at the end, you can come back on video, congratulate them, and give them this next step. Now, I should say, you know, depending on your practice, and this isn't right for everyone. I know for consultation-driven practices, especially ones that already do free consultations, this is going to just remove the friction in the process. So I highly recommend you look into this. If you're a personal injury law firm, or you're someone who, the goal is not a consultation, but get them on the phone as fast as possible, or maybe you're not doing free consultations for whatever reason, I still have clients that use this and do get paid consultations booking. You just saw this now, didn't you? I don't know why things are a little bit delayed. Okay, but you can see this now, it's here. That's the schedule the meeting button. You can add this stuff at the end of the chat, automate the next steps, okay? And if you hear me talking and you don't see anything changing on the screen, you can let me know. But okay, so that is kind of it. You wanna qualify your leads on autopilot, filter out the noise, and automate the next steps. Book that consultation, use video to invite them, give them another call to action at the end of the experience before they leave your website, or invite them to continue reading and learn how you might have helped so-and-so, all these other people, invite them to read testimonials, whatever it is. Okay, so about 10 minutes left. What are the risks and what are the limitations, right? Because there's always a catch. And so there's a few things that I'm going to give you all that I recommend that when you're looking into this, right? Whether you have a tool like Intaker, or whether you're looking at getting some kind of video powered, oops, what's going on here? Okay, sorry. What are the risks and limitations? Whether you have one or you're looking into one.
It appears as if it's just lagging on you, Joe. I don't know why. You're saying it and switching it, and it's lagging on the switch. But we see what are the risks and limitations of these tools now.
All right. Well, I just hope that I can make it work better, faster. Yes, thank you, Michael. It's good to be here. Anyway, so the number one issue that this is very, very serious, because it's going to make or break the next 6 months after you upgrade, after you change your chat, is your website loading speed, right? There is a huge difference in the tool you use and how it affects your website. They may all look great on the surface, but not every tool is going to have the same impact to your website. And what do we know? As of last year, Google changed its entire system, its entire algorithm for SEO, where they used to look at one metric, and it was loading speed. And if your site loaded quickly, that was all they really cared about. And last year, they introduced something called Core Web Vitals. And so if you see the Web Vitals on the right side, these are a few of the numbers that Google uses. And I couldn't tell you exactly what they are. I'm not super expert, but I know what a good number is and what a bad one is. You want your numbers to be green. And this tells Google essentially how fast, efficient, optimized is your website. And better websites get better scores. They rank higher in SEO. And even when you think about your paid traffic, there is something called a quality score. And the structure of your website impacts your quality score, which means you could actually be paying more for a paid ad, for a Google search ad, than your competitor, just because of your website, just because of a particular tool. The copy, the location, the metrics, everything can be the same, but just your website might be dragging a little bit for one reason or another, and you might be paying more per click. Right now, I don't know what your website is. The tool that I use is GTmetrix. There are many tools that you can use. Google Lighthouse is another one. These are from two different websites. Top one is from an Intaker site. It's from a live customer site. The bottom one is from another video chat website, and it is not the best. I should, full disclosure, I don't know what exactly is causing the lag on the D-rated website. I know the chat is causing a bunch of it, but there are many factors here. So it's important to talk with your SEO team when they say, hey, we have this chat, or for you, if you're talking to anyone, if you're talking to me about Intaker, and you're saying, what's going to be the impact of Intaker on my website performance? That's a question that whoever you're talking to about adding video chat, empathy-driven chat automation, they need to be able to answer this, okay? Very important, because any issue with speed on your website is going to cause downstream problems. You might not even see it for weeks or months, right? You want to, before you make a decision about what technology you're going to use, know the impact. Ask to see some examples. Other websites that have this tool, what their speed test is. GTmetrix.com is a great one, but there's many, okay? And really those core web vitals, that's what Google calls them. There's, I believe, 3 or 4 numbers that you really need to pay attention to. And if you hit all those right, then you're good. Your SEO is fine. It's actually like.
Can you give me that URL one more time so I can post it for them?
Thank you. It's the letter GT and then metrics with an X.com. I realize I don't have it on the slide, but yeah, gtmetrics.com is the website, and they're good. Perfect. That's it, Rich. All right, thank you. Okay, next, integrations, right? And I'll go very quickly through the end here, but does your chat integrate? Because if you're using, whether that is, Infusionsoft, whether that is Zoho, whether that is Clio, LeadDocket, I don't know, there's a million tools out there. Just make sure that the chat that you use integrates cleanly, that it gets the data in the right places, that you're not fumbling or need to, copy paste anything. Those days are over. If you're relying on that, you're inviting an unlimited amount of human potential error into the system that all it takes is one great person having a bad day to miss out on what could be an important opportunity. So chat automation or integrations are just going to help get the data where it needs to go. All right. A lot of them do that, but what not all of them do is, is it optimized for conversions? And, what do I mean by that? It's optimized because all these chats are going to do a couple things, right? They're going to capture people's info, but do they invite a conversation? And this is a little James Jones action. He does estate planning and, invite conversation, asking, which of these issues do they need help with? And then from there, starting a conversation, right? Asking, hey, what's going on? Tell us about the situation before you get to, what's your name and phone number? Or does your tool just ask for the basics and create essentially a wall? Because if someone gets to this point and it says at the top, we'll text you, some people are going to go for that, but I promise you it's going to be less than if you invite them to a conversation before you just ask for the need to know stuff up front. I'm not saying these tools don't have their place. I think they definitely have their place. But if you want to be converting at the highest rate, not leaving any possible opportunities on the table, just know what the different options are, okay? Because not all chat tools convert the same. 6 minutes, I'll go quick. Now, what is the cost versus benefit here? Because Intaker, I can tell you we're not the cheapest game in town, but I will tell you we're the best game in town. But maybe where you are on your journey, either free or an included product might be the right fit, right? And so I just wanted to give people, if you are starting out, maybe you haven't made a decision yet, you want to know what your options are. Number one, talk to your fellow Partners Club team members. They'll have some good.
Yeah, if I can just address that real quick, Joe. You said you're not the cheapest play in town. I think not having chat is extremely expensive because if you don't have it, you're missing out on a significant portion of your leads and the ability to convert on your landing pages. Further, there are plenty of people who are using a pay per chat scenario, and they're paying a multiple of what they pay to Intaker because of the where you've structured it. So I disagree with you. I don't think that you're not the cheapest game in town. I think it's a lot more expensive not to have chat.
I appreciate that, Rich. When you factor in the opportunity cost, I would, yeah, I see what you mean there. So Charles, cheapest game in town is usually sacrificing either quality or service. Which are you willing to sacrifice? I like to think we try really hard to hit both of those, and that's why we're not the cheapest. So anyway, more challenges, guys. Charles is taking the lead so far. Okay, so I mentioned this before. I want to go through, pros and cons, right? If you are looking at, there's a lot of empathy-driven chats now, which you can use, and they can be free or included with your package. They might be a great starting point if your website is just getting off the ground. If you don't have a lot of traffic, still watch out for the SEO thing. That's important. But then as you start to, come on. Nope. Oh man, I'm getting a lot of lag here. All right, sorry guys. I don't know why. Upgrading your tool as your traffic grows, right? So that's one option. Maybe you want to start with something that's already included. You're paying for a service. You might have this. That might be a good starting point. But as you get more traffic, that small, even if it's a small increase in conversion rate, even if your new chat converts 10% better than your old chat or 20% better, and you say, hey, that's not that much. That's just an extra 1 or 2 leads a week for you. Right now, that could be the case, but as you start to gain more traction, grow your traffic, that 10 to 20% increase is going to mean a bigger absolute difference at the end of the cycle. Okay, what are you, if you're looking at a premium product, what is this good for? If you want the best conversion, I mentioned that. You need something that's not going to sacrifice the user experience, that's going to keep your website fast, and also just make sure that people are moving through, they're engaging, that you're not leaving potential leads on the table because your chat, they didn't like something about it. And then, where is it? Come on. Oh my God. Yeah, just if you have a high traffic site, this is a serious must. Do not settle for a second grade or second tier product if you have a website that a lot of people are going to, because you're only going to shoot yourself in the foot by doing so. And so I think I have just 2 more minutes. Okay. Here's the thing, guys. I don't mean to, strike fear, but I am trying to drive urgency, which is that this new era of, empathy-driven chatbots, is one way to call them, are taking over. Not just on your website, on your competitors' websites. They're coming and they're here, and we want you to be ahead on the vanguard. So I'll give you one really quick story just to illustrate this point outside of a legal chat scenario. There was a study done, I read about it, I think it might have been Harvard Business Review. It's this year, it's very recent, about these like AI personalities. You might see there are companies out there who are unrolling their like a virtual brand ambassador, or they take AI, they create like what's called a deep fake, like a person who's not real, who's just a computer generated person with a computer generated voice. And they saw that it took, on average, they had people on video chats trying to communicate with a real control group, I'm talking to a real person, and then with this AI person. And it took them about 20 minutes or so of conversation to realize they're talking to someone who's not even a real person, they're an AI. And secondly, in that 20 minutes, they rated them as more trustworthy than the live control group counterpart. So we know that this technology is coming, right, in all areas of our life, including when you visit a website. Fast forward to the future, there's going to be some weird bot on there that could be giving, people welcome to your law firm. Well, I don't think that's the right way to do it. I think it's better if you take ownership, take radical responsibility, do a short little video. I will help you do it. I'll personally walk you through it. Every time I do go to Partners Club, I have a few people that I coach through. Thank you so much, Joe. All right. And yes, I love it. Bill, that's awesome. Okay, quick note here. I don't know if this is the right place for it, but let's say you're just using a normal chat, right? And you want to know what's the difference with the new chat out there. Integer will destroy any old school live chat. This is against Apex. The number of leads was just the one metric we looked at. It went way higher when he switched. It was the month 1. We wanted to see it over time. It goes up and down, but that's just the nature of the game. He's bankruptcy, by the way. And if you are using, an older chat, you want to say, what is possible when I upgrade my chat? This is just a snapshot. Okay, so with that being said, I am in Q&A mode. Anyone else who wants to shout out a question, please. Bill, you got an A on your website. That is awesome. Kat and Joe Dickerson, I saw you got a B. And Charles, you got a C. We can talk about it. I'll walk you through what I know on the GT metrics, and we might be able to pinpoint what the issue is there. I promise you it's not Integer, because all I do is look at websites and make sure it's not Integer that's slowing it down. Anyway, thank you all so much for being here, Rich. This means a lot that you invited me to join you and the Partners Club family here today. So before I give a shout out to Sherry and Brittany and everyone who made this possible, last call for any questions, and Rich, I'll give you the mic.
Yeah, so just Joe, I know that those who are watching and they have a video that you have a QR code up there they can scan to get an Integer demo. In case they're listening to this at a podcast or on YouTube or something, and they're listening and they can't see it, what website would you like to direct them to?
Oh, great point. I should have added that here. It's integer.com.
Okay, integer.com. So because your website is joe@integer.me, so integer.com is where you'd like them to go, correct?
Yes. And I can, if anyone's curious why we have a primary domain for email. There's, some email hacks that we can talk about. I'm not sure if that's going to be super relevant to anyone in this room, but Rich, you and I can talk about that later if you want to know more. And yeah, intaker.com is the website, or email me at Joe, that's Joe, at intaker.me. And if you want to know how to spell it, it's the word intake with an R.
So I think we covered a lot of ground today, Joe. I appreciate you being here. At the end of the day, what we basically laid out is, look, if you're using a website or a landing page, and if you're serious about being a consumer law firm or B2B law firm of any kind, you need a good quality website that you're investing, likely tens of thousands of dollars a year into. And in order to make sure that website, once it attracts the traffic, actually converts the traffic, we need to make sure we have video above the fold, and that video connects empathetically in an automatic way, and then has the ability to then go and filter further after the video when somebody shows their interest to make sure they're a qualified lead. And video in a normal website has a really hard time doing that, but Intaker solved that problem. They combined it all together. They took what was positive about chat, they took what was positive about video, creating a social handshake, creating empathy, created automation so that you could further communicate and identify what type of lead it is. And they given you the ability to use their additional tools to segment the conversation so you can speak to clients differently than leads that are in Pennsylvania, different than leads that are in California or what have you. And so you have the ability to take this technology, take the automation, add in your own personality, differentiate yourself from your competition. And what's happening is we're seeing more and more of this. So if you don't get it right, right now we know it's outperforming every other service that's out there for chat. But more importantly, if you don't have it and your competitor does, basically they're getting the leads that you might be able to get that ordinarily you're not going to get now because they're getting them before you got them. Or worse, they went to your site, left your site, didn't do anything, went to their site. They had something like this on their site, and now they got the lead. So it's not if you're a consumer-based or a B2B attorney who is growing your firm, you're on the internet and you're investing money there. If you're on the internet and you're investing money there, you need to have automation and empathy brought through the use of video and technology. And so you should be using something like Intaker. This isn't me pitching them. There is no other option for you out there as far as I know it. But I'm telling you that they invented the category. They've become category kings. And I think they're excellent at what they do. I have it on my site. You should have it on yours as well. Hope you found this interesting and helpful today. Thank you, Joe, for being here. Appreciate you as always. For those of you that are listening, watching, or whatever, you want to go ahead and comment or give me a thumbs up or like or whatever you're supposed to do, on those platforms. So we go ahead and make sure we get this out to more folks. Let's go ahead and help you build your law firm better, one website conversion through empathy and automation at a time. Make it a great day, everybody.
Much love. Thank you, Rich. All right. Well, I will be here if anyone wants to email me, joe@intaker.me. Otherwise, I think it's time to say goodbye and good night. Take care, guys.